Hello, it is April 8th, and I am sitting here at the Prairie Knights Casino. Kind of weird, like old times, sort of. I'm in a t-shirt, so it kind of feels like August last year when it was sunny and warm and pretty empty. So it's a kind of a weird place to be returning to, but it also feels good because I'm attending this conference, fulfilling the prophecies of the grandfathers. And it's all about the same topics that the Standing Rock movement valued. And so today there's some discussion about the way that the water routes were actually changed a long time ago, and I think it was in the 40s and 50s, that the Army Corps came in and basically dammed up the river, which caused flooding on a huge amount of property, particularly really fertile agricultural land, as well as ranches that were native owned. And basically, a lot of livestock was lost, land was lost, and there was no concern for the community. And really, it was never compensated. There was never restitution for that being done. And so there's one elder man who calculated that basically he would be owed about $90 million for the value of what was destroyed in that move. So that's just really powerful to start putting numbers to the value of this, which of course there really is no numerical value to land or water, but just to consider, because that is the language of what this government is all about, and to realize that, wow, how much was taken, and there's one story about an old man, a man who, was younger at that time, and he had gone to the war, or he had gone out to war, and then he came back and all his land was gone, and so he said, you know what, I'm just signing back up for war, because he was just so disgusted at what had happened in his home, which is really sad. And then talked a little bit about the idea of, one of the things is when the water is infected by fracking or pipelines, if there's not data that had been taken beforehand, it's harder to prove that just how much, like quantifying the difference that was the environmental impact. So there's a movement now, kind of I think inspired by the Standing Rock movement, of a company that's going to be putting in a pilot study in the Pine Ridge Reservation to begin measuring the toxicity levels of water now, in order to then compare it later if/when there is a spill, if DAPL actually happens. And then the other thing that was happening at the end of the day was the youth. And so Bobby Jean Three Legs and a bunch of girls from Wakpala came and spoke about their run that's kind of started the whole thing. And it was really cool. I've heard the story, I've seen interviews, but to really see these young women there in front of me was really powerful and impactful. And just hearing her describe the actual run and how people slowly started hearing more about them and showing up and welcoming them and receiving them and cooking them food, and then kids joining the run, as they went through the town. And it's amazing, to just really zoom back in time and realize that a year ago, that's what was going on. And it was truly a bunch of youth just thinking we will not tolerate this. And then they went to Omaha, and then they went to Washington, D.C., which she said at first was just a joke. But then they did it. They made it a reality, and they got there and they presented, even with some young children, to these White House officials. And they said that everyone in that room was almost in tears, just seeing the passion and the dedication of these young people, who are from this land. To them, they're just in a business meeting or something, mapping things out on a map, or just very impersonal. And to have these youth show up in person and speak from their hearts and be praying, that's going to affect anyone. And obviously the Standing Rock movement, Water is Life, did impact millions of people. And so it was really inspiring. And yet at the same time, being here, being back on this land, being at the casino, it's just hard, truly hard to understand, how did it get to be this way? Why is this even necessary, and why are the odds stacked against the earth? The survival of all people, and I had breakfast with an Unchi, a grandmother, this morning, and she was explaining that she overheard some people kind of, talking badly about the movement, and she went and called them out and said, do you realize that the water isn't going to stay on the reservation when it's infected. The water that's the same water that you use as farmers for your land and your animals. And that this man actually said, oh, I didn't think about that. So I really hope that we continue to reach out to the many people that still haven't taken the time to really think about it. And I just want to remind everyone again that it's about your daily choices, right? It's about trying to reuse your plastic fork and trying to bring your own container instead of taking styrofoam. And, just so many ways in your daily life that you can protect the earth in some ways, and then in addition to that, also taking political action, civil disobedience and all of that to come. But sometimes it is just really truly, I just want to sit some of these oil company executives down and just have a conversation with them as a human being and just understand what they're thinking, because they must just really not understand what it's doing to the earth, or just be so disconnected. I mean, how you can't drink oil and you can't eat money. And so I just really pray for everyone to realize that we're all on the same side. Water is life.